Well, we're in good shape.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Lori Vinacore, Executive Vice President of the Alliance of Delray Residential Associations. Welcome to our meeting today, this May 3rd, Wednesday, a beautiful, beautiful day. It's all about Delray Beach today. We might be in unincorporated Palm Beach County, but remember our address is Delray Beach. So we go there all the time. That's where our entertainment is, and it's wonderful. And the beach is great. And just in today's forum, the Delray Forum today, special article that the city was named the finalist for 2017 All-America Award. I'll repeat that when the mayor comes. I don't see him in the room yet, but I'm sure he will be here. Bob is not here today. A little problem with his 89-year-old bones. Okay, just got little pains that he couldn't. It was just a little tough, a little under the weather, but he will be back stronger than ever. Of course, we always see him coming back stronger than ever. So we'll see him at the breakfast, which we will talk about in a few minutes. Let's all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. We always start out announcing our guests here. So we're going to have Vice President Stan Goodman announce our guests. Everybody who's not going to be speaking at the lectern here will now be announced.
It's my pleasure to announce our guests and dignitaries. Please hold your applause until I'm finished. Alexis Andres, Community Relations Director of the Flora Sugarcane League. Mort Mazer from Delray Forum. Denise Ozalkin, Senator Ken Rader's office. Diana Johnson, Clerk and Controller, Palm Beach County. Laura Corey, South Florida Water Management District. Freddie Scott, Commissioner Abrams' office. Major Jeff Calise, Palm Beach Sheriff's office. Michelle Harrington, Delray Beach Historical Society. Steve Kniffen, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. Joe Duffy, Public Education Specialist, Delray Beach Fire Rescue. Sarah also from GL Homes. Howie Zimmerman, Palm Beach Property Appraiser's Office. Mike Pratt, Palm Beach Property Appraiser's Office. Paula Rigoli, Representative Schlossberg's office. Shirley Johnson, City Commissioner, Delray Beach. Edward Saul, President of United South County Democratic Club. Terry Mitzi, District Manager, Senator Joseph Abruzzo's office. Kathleen Rose, Senator Kevin Rader's office. Dana Ackerman White from Dave Kerner's office. Melissa Santoro, Legislative Assistant to Senator Jeff Clemens. Megan White, Administrative Assistant to Commissioner Mary Lou Berger. Leslie Schreiber, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Sophia Eccleston, Florida Power and Light. Jenny Caesar, Congresswoman Lois Frankel's office. And Mel Shilver, Arnstein and Lair's office. Welcome all.
It's nice to see all of the aides here and assistants to our elected officials who are all working in Tallahassee as we speak on many issues, just a couple that we will explain in a few minutes as well. Our reports, we have Captain DiBerardino giving us an update.
Morning, everybody hear me? All right, crime update. Crime is pretty good right now. We're down, okay? March, we had 23 vehicle burglaries. In April, we have 4. I don't want to jinx this, but that's pretty good. Our favorite time of year is coming up. Everybody know when that is?
Yes. Snowbirds are leaving.
Yeah, when everybody goes home, we can drive somewhere within an hour? No, I'm just kidding. Hurricane season. I want to go over that real quick. Starts June 1st, goes through November 30th, okay? We can't prepare too early, especially if you're going to be leaving. Make sure that you leave everything ready to go for a hurricane. Make sure you put somebody in charge of your residence. And of course, you know, every year I say this, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office District 4, our phone number is 688-4760. If there's a circumstance or something special where you need us to do a little extra patrol or go check on your place, feel free to call us and we'll do that. Obviously, if we get 2,000 of these, it's not extra patrol, it's just patrol. But you understand what I'm saying. We are willing to provide that service if we are available to do it. So please call us and let us know. As far as hurricanes go, I tell my deputies and employees, because they have to be ready. They don't get the luxury of doing any last minute stuff. They're working. I send them to the National Hurricane Center website. You Google it, National Hurricane Center. Best site, most comprehensive site, tells you everything you need to have ready, all the supplies, everything, the time, all that stuff that you need to get ready for a hurricane. You know, as last year we got lucky, last second, one skimmed the coast, just popped a tiny bit east and spared us, and that was a nasty one, so please take it seriously. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you all for all your support, and for those that are going back home up north, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you very much for allowing us to use the District 4 station there for our mature driving course. And it was a big success, and we have another one in May, which is completely filled, and I have a waiting list of about 25 people. So just look for, anybody here from Deauville today? Yes, hi. Apparently it went into your newsletter a little bit later, and I have about 15 or 20 people from Deauville that would like a mature driver course. So we're going to work on that. We'll get that in the future. There's going to be more, so just look for the updates and the emails. We have Tony Keeler and we have Chief McGlynn here from the firefighters to give us an update.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's so weird standing behind this thing. Hi. Hi. All right, so just a couple little updates. We have a recruit class that we've done. This is the second one of this year. And we have 24 new recruits that will be graduating and coming out into the field and serving our battalions. We're hoping to get a good, decent, we're looking like 4 or 5 of those folks are going to be coming right here to the Battalion 4. And just as a reminder, they go, when we hire new firefighter paramedics, they're fully certified, they have all the credentials, paramedics, state certified firefighter credentials. However, when they come into Palm Beach County, we have to teach them the Palm Beach County way. So there's no second guessing how to pull the hose of load off or what type of medical protocols. So when they hit the street after 8 weeks of training at our main headquarters, when they come into the battalions, they count in staffing and they're ready to rock and roll. We form them right into the team, which is a really good blessing. To have the tax support from the county commission to be able to do that and hire people and put them through the training course for 8 weeks is something that we don't take lightly. We thank you for all that support. Many other fire departments start people on their first day and they're just on-the-job training. So that's the safest way to do that. So we thank you for that. A couple other things. We have a new ladder truck coming in, the Ladder 47, which is in the Boynton area, which is part of this battalion. Quite often we have them flying the flag out front, so we have a brand new apparatus. And the committee that actually participated in that, we used the firefighters and the operators on those trucks to customize the cabinets and the tools and where everything goes. Again, something that we normally don't see in a big organization. Usually something shows up and we just gotta kind of learn the way it is. But we actually picked the truck and the apparatus and the specifications with the input of the firefighters. I want to give a little shout out to Mike Adler and Katie. Kate, can you please stand up? Evergreen section of Huntington Point. Round of applause for these guys, because last month I talked about how we got this partnership and this friendship with the community, and we're always leaning on each other and launching products and projects like the Yellow Dot and things that we've teamed up with Tony and the firefighters and the Alliance on. Well, Mike and Katie, they're helping us out with a fire department customer service video. So that's going to be coming out sometime next month. We'll share that with Dr. Lori so you can put it on the website. But they're going to be making their film debut in one of our customer service videos. We're really happy about that. So I just want to, don't want to take up too much time. I love you guys. Great seeing everyone. I'll turn it over to Tony.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Lori, Delray Alliance, for giving us some time this morning. I'll be very quick. We're continuing all the programs we've been doing, whether that's CPR, Yellow Dot, our new carbon monoxide initiative that the county has been pushing really hard. So in your neighborhoods, in Battalion 5 in West Boca and kind of Boynton, the area that I service for our union, we've been out there giving you guys what you're asking for. So if anyone here needs programs in their neighborhoods, please don't hesitate to ask. The only other thing I wanted to mention within Delray, especially, and West Boca now, if you guys are driving around, just be careful. There's a lot of construction going on. New home construction, which is kind of the norm for out west here. You guys have seen everything that's been being built up on Atlantic. But even in Battalion 5 in West Boca, if you're out in that area, they have homes going in on 18th Street, new homes going in on Lyons Road right behind Station 57. There's going to be more new homes going in, I believe eventually in the Boca Point area when they get some things sorted out there. Lyons Road is going to be under construction probably for at least 6 months to 8 months from Glades to Palmetto. So if you guys are down that way at all, just be careful and cognizant. Also, I know the sheriff had mentioned the moving trucks are here for the vehicles. So a lot of people heading back up north. A lot of times they're parked kind of on the roadway, but not really. We had a couple accidents out in West Boca in the last week from those trucks being out there, the vehicles being parked early in the morning. Maybe someone's on their phone texting, shouldn't be, not paying attention. But just be vigilant when you guys are driving and take care of your friends and your neighbors. And if you need anything, please reach out. Thanks again. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for always being there for us, not just here, but also when we need you for emergencies. We have Commissioner Berger here today, our District 5 Commissioner. And I'm sure she'd like to tell us a few things.
I can stand in front, I can stand in back, I can stand around, whatever. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, I don't even have to get you to repeat it because you're awake this morning. The first thing I want to do is thank everybody for their well wishes. If you recall, I was not at last month's meeting because it was the date of my husband's knee replacement surgery. So I want to thank everybody for their well wishes and their how's your husband doing, that every time I ran into people they asked me. He's doing very well. How many people have had knee or hip replacements? It's like common when you get to our age. I know I'll have them eventually in my knees, but he's doing very well. He's in outpatient physical therapy now. He is allowed to drive again, thank goodness. And so I'm back to my commission duties full-time now. So I'm very happy about that. And to the Adlers who helped fire rescue out, if you do a really good job, maybe we'll all agree to put your names in for an Academy Award. That would be good. This is the month of May, and May, if you're going back up north, take care, we'll miss you. The other thing about May that I like is that that it is Memorial Day, and we honor those who served in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, and anything else that had to do with any of the wars. And that is a very special day for me. I invite you to come to Veterans Park down in Boca. I'm there every year, and the Jewish War Veterans put a program on, and you are all welcome to come. It usually starts around 9 in the morning. I would like for all of us to be able to thank our veterans. So if you're here, if you would please stand up. I think that anybody that served deserves that big round of applause, and thank you for your service. And for those that used to be among us and are not here to be applauded, we wish them our prayers and our love, and we keep them in our thoughts always. So thank you very much, and on with the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Berger. And we have Karen Brill, one of our board members on the school board, here today. And if Karen Brill would like to provide an update or a few words, you can certainly come up here. Thank you for all the work you do.
Good morning, and I'm sorry that I'm late, but we have a very important agenda at the school board this morning. Actually, it's this afternoon. I don't know if you saw it in the paper, but we are going to be closing one of our schools for the first time in 50 years, Odyssey Middle School, which is a school my children attended. And what the history has been of that school is that the administration has done a fabulous job, the teachers have done a fabulous job, and with the lowest 25% performers, they've had the best achievement of any school in the district, but at the expense of the higher level learners. They don't have any arts, they don't have any gifted programs, they didn't have advanced placement programs, and that was an administrative decision, not in the hands of the school board, but because of that, the enrollments dropped so drastically low. So I'm trying to be creative to figure out what we were going to do. The district has now made a decision to move South Tech Academy, which many of you may know is a fabulous vocational school, into Odyssey Middle School space. So it's going to be a very controversial and hot agenda. What's really good is that we're now talking about building new schools in the western Boynton Beach area, the western Delray Beach area, away from the 55+ communities, but to serve our younger communities. So I'm excited about that. Also, we are now moving into graduation season. So if any of you have grandchildren or friends who have grandchildren and children graduating, all of our graduations are going to be recorded and live on our website. So people all over the world can actually watch their children graduating. So thank you for letting me greet you. And again, I'm sorry that I'm late. It's going to be a lot of hot items in the press for the next few weeks over the changes we're making, but it's very exciting for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Turnpike expansion meeting will be June 19th. It will be at the West Boca Library on 441, just north of Yamato Road. It's very important for all of us, but especially our associations that are bordering the Turnpike, because there are certain noise walls that are proposed, or potential noise walls. So anybody you know who is interested in that, please, anybody can attend. It's June 19th. Residents, community leaders. It's going to be expanding from 6 in certain areas to 10 lanes, with some express lanes, and they're moving a lot of utilities around. They're going to be working hard on that. That's proposed for design between 2018 to 20. It's going to be building probably 21, 22. The breakfast invitations are going out in a few days. Undisclosed location. Whoever is invited will know all about that. So it's our annual breakfast, and of course all of our delegates, alternates, and our presidents are invited. And we have elected officials and special people coming, so that's our usual. It's going to be June 9th, and you will get that invitation shortly. We have a new community, Delray Grand, just joined. Remember, we had Clearbrook join last month, and this month it's Delray Grand. We're up to 94 communities, but really we represent about 250 associations. But the larger community is about 94 now, and by this time next year, we're hoping to top 100. Alpha Tech is our breakfast sponsor this morning, but Alpha Tech does not have a representative here, but they sponsored this, so I'm just mentioning their name today. things are going on in the legislation. You know that there is going to be on the ballot in 2018 about a $25,000 homestead exemption, if you want an extra $25,000 homestead exemption or not. That will happen on our ballot in 2018. And we do have to be of concern, because then possibly the county will not be having as much money as they had before. However, just to let you know, a little update from the Palm Beach Post yesterday, that, or today actually, the county feels flush, $1.82 billion in revenue, the clerk and comptroller just announced. But we do have to watch out and think about the homestead exemption. We'll get more information on that from our county officials. Maybe they'll come out with a statement about that, but we will be seeing that on the next ballot. One thing that was in the Delray Forum this morning, wow, it's all about Delray Beach and Mayor Glickstein. City named finalist for 2017 All-American Award. And that's really wonderful, and apparently there's been another award achievement, Pace Setter Community, by the Nationally Distinguished Campaign for Grade Level Reading for its accomplishments in assisting children with school readiness. It's all about, when you have excellent leadership, these are the kind of awards you get. And we are very fortunate this morning to have Mayor Glickstein here today with us. And he is a fourth-generation native Floridian. He has his law degree from the University of Miami School of Law. And this is the All-America City, and hopefully this year will be the All-America City again. He'll be speaking a little, and then we'll have any questions you have to ask him, he'll take questions. And then we'll have the staycation update from the Historical Society from Winnie Edwards. So please help me welcome today Mayor Carrie Glickstein.
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's good to be here. Before I begin, I'd like to thank and recognize both our City of Delray Beach and county first responders in the back of the room. They keep us all safe, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here and for what you do. It's good to be here. It's been a while since I have, and I address a lot of homeowner associations and condo associations. A lot of people who have addresses in Delray aren't actually in the city of Delray. If you live west of Military Trail, as you may know, you're in the county, but we still love you and we love to see you in our city anyway. It's been the most productive when I have had these meetings that I give you a brief overview. I don't want to bore you with too many details, but find it's more productive to hear your questions and do my best to answer them, if that's okay. It's actually, I'm followed by another speaker with our Historic Society, and it's a good segue into one of the more pressing issues in Delray. I am born and raised in this area and have seen, as anybody in this room that has been in Palm Beach County in general and Delray specifically, a lot of growth in our city. And one of the biggest challenges that I face is straddling various generational concerns about what is our town going to be. There is my parents' generation, which a lot of you in this room are, that remember Delray as a very small town, and whether for nostalgic reasons or familiarity, miss that smaller town that we had, and often lament the growth that we've seen. There's my generation which remembers those days of the smaller town, but have children that need jobs when they finish college and have an eye towards the growth of the future, growth of the town. So I have one foot in the past and another foot in the future, and then we have my children's generation, the so-called millennials, who want to see a very urbanized downtown. They view cities much differently than we did and do. They have really no interest in driving, and if something isn't close enough to walk to, they'll find another city to live in and work in. Unlike our generations where we found employment and that was the place that we moved to, this generation finds a town that they like and then they find employment. So it's a little different, and so one of the biggest challenges for me is finding that fourth leg of the stool, reconciling those very valid concerns of those three generations. So growth management in Delray has and will be one of the focuses of my work, and I think for the town for the years to come, and just trying to understand who do we want to be. As you know, Boca Raton is a very different town than Delray Beach. West Palm Beach is a very different town. So we all have our different identities and characters, and it's just a challenge trying to stick to that authenticity that made us a successful town. Lori mentioned that we are now a candidate for an All-America City Award. That award is given in June, and if we win that, we will be the only city in the state of Florida to have won that 3 times. And I'm very proud. The award is great, trophies are great, ribbons are great, but the reasons behind the award are really compelling and meaningful to so many people in Delray, as they should be to you, in that we were nominated for the work that we are doing with at-risk youth, specifically with literacy among 80% of the at-risk youth in our city that attend Title I schools and programs. Statistically, there are states that will determine the amount of prisons they will build based on reading proficiency at 3rd grade level. Meaning that if you aren't reading at grade level by the 3rd grade, that is a very strong indicator of educational and career success. And the number of children that are failing to reach that milestone is a predictor to some of future criminals, and it's just a staggering challenge for all cities, but in particular for Delray Beach, where we are so demographically challenged. So I'm very proud of the work that we are doing. We have a school district, and many people subscribe to the view, well, we pay our taxes to the school district, the schools are their problem. Delray Beach for years has taken a much more engaged role in saying, well, we appreciate what the district does, but we view ourselves as a partner with the district, and we are going to try to move the needle in ways that we think are best for our kids, and we're doing that. We've seen 25% increases in our youth literacy up through 3rd grade over the last 5 years, which is why we were nominated for this award, and I think we'll be bringing it back in June. So there's a lot of exciting things happening in Delray. I'm sure a lot of you that visit the city, whether it's the beach during the day or come to get a bite to eat at night, you've seen a lot of growth in the downtown. And we view our city has really become, because of its unique attributes, an amenity of other cities in Palm Beach County and even North Broward County. If you were to take a survey of the people walking through our town on a Saturday night, My guess is you would find a minority of people that are actually Delray residents. Many are from West Palm, Boynton, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, towns that don't have an authentic downtown, an authentic Main Street, a place where they can walk around and do something after getting a bite to eat. So we are a very popular town, and we're doing quite well financially. With that success comes other things, and some of those other things aren't the most desirable. And so we have a lot of challenges related to those too. You've probably heard quite a bit of news about the amount of opioid-related overdoses in South Florida. Delray Beach has more than its fair share of that, and there's the same confluence of factors that makes it an attractive place for people to come live and work and recreate are also contributing factors to why Delray Beach is also popular with people that are not the ones that we want in our town. And but we are not unique in that regard, and many cities across the country are fighting this, what is a public health crisis by any objective measure. And we haven't had a lot of help out of Tallahassee. We've had even less help out of DC. Many cities feel like they're handcuffed to do certain things. We don't have the funding we need. We don't have for mental health education, early education initiatives. We can't arrest and regulate ourselves out of this epidemic. And I like to say we need to see the cavalry. It's just not showing up where we need it most. Some other exciting things that are happening in Delray right now. For those of you that visit our beach, the next few months is probably not the best time to visit the beach because we have most of that fenced off because we've embarked on a very large construction project that's changing the whole beach promenade, so that when you do come back this fall, you will find wider sidewalks, better lighting, better access to the beach, so that the work that we've done from the dune all the way to the sand in that investment matches the appearance whether you're pulling up in your car or your bike or walking down the street. You've seen quite a bit of construction projects in downtown Delray. There's been a lot of interest, some would call it controversy, over the iPic movie theater that we hope to get started in the downtown soon. We also have some other large development projects that have been controversial as well. I think they've been unnecessarily controversial. Some of these are legacy problems for the current administration, and we're just trying to get the best possible thing we can for our residents. Again, coming back to that initial subject of growth management, we don't see ourselves as having construction cranes throughout your downtown. That's great for growth, but that's not exactly who we want to be. And we're fighting very hard to keep that hometown, small town character, which is going to continue to be a challenge. There's many, many topics I can hit on, but I'm guessing that they're going to come up in some of your questions, and maybe that's a better way for me to address some of those. So I'm happy to see a hand going up right away. And
Okay.
that's again.
We have, John can bring around what a great description, an authentic downtown. That's exactly what we have, an authentic Main Street. I love that. That's a great idea. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's gonna?
Oh, okay.
We have a microphone.
Gentlemen first.
Yes, sir.
Atlantic Dunes Park, is that part of the renovation?
That is not part of the renovation. Are you talking about the pavilion?
Correct.
Yeah, that's part of a county-city project, so that is going to be fixed.
Okay, but can't they at least fix that walkway to the beach?
We're getting that done. Part of it is, again, it's not just a city asset, so we're trying to get that worked out. But I feel comfortable that within the next 60 days, that's going to be fixed. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Could you just clarify something very simple? I've heard Delray referred to as a village, a town, a city. What's accurate? And would you maybe also talk about those of us who are west of military and the structure of government?
Sure. The first question, I think, is in the eyes of the beholder. I think for the people that have spent a lot of time in Delray, they would consider it more a village. I think that for those that have spent less time in Delray, you would consider it a city. Much of that is semantics. I think there's some nostalgia attached to the village concept, but by any objective measure, we are a full-service city. We have our own, and I think some of the measures of that are really, we have our own fire department, we have our own police department, we have our own parks department, we have our own public works department. The things that define cities versus smaller villages that sometimes operate like large homeowners associations and contract out those services. So I think for nostalgic reasons, people view us as a village. I think there's some romanticism to that, but we are a full-service city. In terms of your other question, that full-service city, in terms of our boundaries, ends at Military Trail with a little carve-out back there by the northwest corner, but by and large, the western boundary of the city is Military Trail. Was that your question?
I think for the benefit of, or maybe some covered before, so for those of us who are west of, what's the local government structure?
You are in unincorporated Palm Beach County.
So it's the county's responsibility to...
The county, if you are not in an incorporated city in Palm Beach County, your police protection is provided by the sheriff's office, your fire rescue is Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and your county commission is your, those are your direct elected officials.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering, why we have to pay the same price for parking, beach parking, as anybody else? Where's the mic?
All right, the question was, why do you have to pay the same parking as everybody else? And when I presume you, are you a Delray citizen?
Yes.
Okay. The easy answer for that is because we accept federal dollars for example, when the storms wash out the sand and we get federal dollars to re-nourish our beach, the federal government says everybody needs to be treated equally that's benefiting from that. So we can't discriminate in the form of subsidized rates for anybody.
Okay, guys.
They may not have gotten federal sand or federal grant dollars. Yes, sir.
Today's newspaper said the county is increasing the sales tax by half a penny. That is nearly 6% last. In January it was 15%, from 6 pence to 7 cents. And also the city is thinking of raising bonds, and that will be additional risk. The city did a good job of finding out what are the access lands that are not giving any generation of taxes or income, but expenses. What happened to that even to get rid of surplus land which the city can't utilize and its expenses are being incurred?
Okay, I think there was a question in there. I got the statement. I think you're perhaps conflating a couple concepts there. The county penny tax, which was approved by voters, will benefit everybody in the county equally. Cities, and it's really based on, it's a per capita population allocation. You mentioned a bond. What the city of Delray Beach is contemplating, which I think is very creative, is the penny tax money is paid to the cities over a 10-year period. That will come incrementally. For the city of Delray Beach, we expect that amount to be about $36 million over 10 years. Rather than waiting for the full 10 years of payments, what we are doing is we are looking to bond the full amount, capturing all of it now, and using the penny tax proceeds over the next 10 years to pay the interest and amortization. So we are not additionally taxing our residents. We are actually providing the full benefit of that penny tax revenue now for the needs that we have now, rather than waiting over 10 years for that money. So there's no, it's a economically neutral solution, but it gets us the money now to address some critical needs that we have.
Oh, Mayor Glickstein, it looks like you draw a crowd when you come here. We usually have our members ask questions, but we have a lot that came from Delray here to hear you. Isn't that interesting? So I have a man here who we don't know, but he says he's got a very quick question for you.
This question is for you, Mayor, and congratulations again. I hope that Delray can bring it home for the #1 city again, for the 3rd time. 3's a charm. Something quick. You have a park that's near Lake Ida Park, and we have the Girl Scout Park, and this is a county and city question, and something you can contemplate. Parks are wonderful, however, if they're not utilized, the Girl Scout Park has sat vacant for 22 years in Boynton Beach. It's 9 acres, waste of taxpayer dollars. Also the 4.8 acres near the Lake Ida Park, near the dog park, that is sitting vacant. We're wondering if there's a way of turning these parks into ways that can make the taxpayer money so we don't have to raise the tax dollars. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Those are valid questions. To the lady's question earlier about are we a village or a city, people define parks in different ways, and there are parks that are actively used, and then there is green space that is passive. Some of that passive land is left in its natural state. Some requires more maintenance. There is always going to be a push and pull among taxpayers as to how much is too much or too little in terms of parks and recreation and green space. Some people may say very validly that the park that you mentioned, the county area, is underutilized, therefore should be marketed and sold and developed and monetized. I would suggest that there's others that appreciate just the green space that we have, which we seem to be losing more and more of. So, valid question. Like so many things, two sides to that discussion. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say that I absolutely love the city of Delray. I live west of Military. What are you doing for parking for all these wonderful plans? You have the movie theater and other restaurants are opening. It's really becoming an entertainment hub. But what are we doing for parking? Because it's really very, very difficult.
It's a great question. I will tell you, in the planning community, there is no more fluid concept than what is the appropriate amount of parking. Our parking requirements are fairly traditional in terms of it's tied to the use. For example, if it's a retail store, it's X amount of spaces required based on the size, same for restaurant, same for residential. But with the advent of Uber, and whether we like it or not, driverless cars are coming. There is also going to be more mass transportation options coming to Palm Beach County. There is concern in the planning community that we are building parking capacity that in the next decade will not be used. So it is a very fluid discussion, and we are at a bit of an inflection point in Delray because even the large parking garages that we did build, which just 5 years ago were largely vacant Monday through Thursday, are now full. Much of the new development that's coming, they are self-sustaining in their own parking requirements. But aside from the parking, it's more an issue of it's just more cars with that growth. And you might have seen some of the work that we've done on Federal Highway, on some of our city roads, where while difficult, we're trying to encourage more people to walk and bike around the downtown. And for any of you, and I'm sure many in this room, come from larger cities where cars really weren't used that often in that city. And so a lot of the newer development that we have, we're hoping to capture the growth, meaning that if we're building space for offices and we're building space for residences, new residences, that the people that are occupying those residences are also able to work in that new office, so that it's not a car leaving our city in the morning, coming back at night to another city. We're capturing that traffic internally, and those models are working. We're seeing that data that supports it. It's just, there's employment for me. That's a job for me. And that may not be a priority for this audience, but it's a priority for other parts of our community. So again, it's reconciling those different perspectives. I didn't support that particular project because I didn't care for the mass of the project, the scale of the project for where it is, not the use of the project. When I first got to office, one of the most important objectives of mine was to change our development code for our downtown. It took me close to 2.5 years to do it, and I'm still dealing with the bruises from that battle. A lot of the large projects, that project specifically and some of the others that have gotten some press, are all legacy projects. Many of them approved prior to that code change. The code changes that we have implemented will bring down the scale of those projects. In fact, along Atlantic Avenue, nothing over 3 stories. All of them have increased space for the public realm, bigger sidewalks, more courtyards, not the big boxes that we've seen. And more importantly, that it's authentic architecture. I think one of the problems that you have in a lot of the downtowns is not so much the size of the building, it's the mediocrity in the design. It's not memorable architecture, it's not authentic architecture, and I think if we can, the next iteration of development in the downtown, perhaps with that exception, I think is going to be much better than what we've seen. Yes, sir.
I'm very involved in the downtown community, and I love the Old Town Square community area. What's the status of the renovations? And I have a second one as a veteran. I'll bring that up also, if I may.
Old School Square, which is the cultural hub of our city, is undergoing a redevelopment plan, which is very much, it was discussed last night at our city commission meeting, and it will be discussed in the coming weeks and months as we get into our budget cycle. It's an ambitious $12 million renovation plan for the buildings and the grounds. It will not be done overnight. I suspect it's going to be a number of years for full implementation, but the objective there is to make the park area in front of the museum to Atlantic Avenue a passive park. Shade trees, places for people to sit, walk, but no events. A lot of people felt like it was overrun with events and people weren't able to use the park. We went from event to event. The grounds were damaged, the buildings were damaged, and the entire season the park was not left for the residents, but for people, promoters, for different events. All of those events are now being moved to the central area, the big green by where the garage is, so that from the so we can, and from a public safety point of view, it works out much better because we can contain all of the activity in that larger area while keeping the area that's most visible pristine. That's part of and improvements to the amphitheater, improvements to the park itself, but it's an ambitious plan.
All right, my second question as a veteran, I've been researching having a USO built down in the South Florida area closer to us. Is there any consideration or responsibilities that this might happen down in Delray, Boynton Beach, Boca area?
Sir, there is no conversation about that at all, and I'm not aware of any initiative in the city to build anything to accommodate that. In fact, we've got surplus assets, I would suggest to you. We can probably house whatever it is you're wanting to do within what we already have. Anything else?
Wow, thank you very much. There's one other, let's do one more. We'll have one more, and then we have a wonderful presentation from the Stardust Society.
Yes, sir.
The shopping center at Atlantic Military, it's like 3/4 empty, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. Are there any plans about renovating or what's going to happen to that property?
I would say the four corners in general have been a challenge for us for quite some time since they were developed. I would suggest that the original development plans were not well conceived, and that has really become an obstacle to that particular shopping center's success. Retail in general is struggling nationally because of online retailers, and small neighborhood shopping centers like this are also struggling for similar reasons. Ones that don't have the best site planning have additional obstacles. Those are privately owned. The city rezoned all the four corners to create very advantageous zoning for redevelopment of those corners, but they're privately owned, and other than providing what I would consider a developer-friendly regulatory scheme, we can't do much more than that, and just hope that private development sees value in redeveloping that in a better way.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. opiate issue and the sober home issue. You've done a lot of work, and a lot of things have improved actually since November, we know that. And thank you, because I know you have people on the sober home task force, and you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a terrific, terrific program, and he answered those questions so well, so thoroughly. Really great. And it's terrific when you have a law degree and you can answer really. Now we have this excellent presentation about what we're going to do this summer for a great staycation. We have Winnie Edwards. She's also a fourth-generation Delray Beach resident, actually, and she is the executive director of the Delray Beach Historical Society. She has her slide presentation already here, and please help me welcome Winnie Edwards.
Good morning. Thank you, Lori and Joel, for having me here today and representing the Delray Beach Historical Society. It's my honor and joy to share Delray Beach history anytime I can get. Do we have any history buffs here today? Just a few? Were any of you involved with historical societies or the preservation community in the towns that you came from? Some of you? Okay. Well, Lori asked me to touch on some sites in Delray that even residents can enjoy. Many of the sites that we'll go over today, you've probably visited before, but maybe you didn't know the backstory. Even alleyways, streets, or bridges in Delray have a history, so the next time you cross them on foot or on your bike or in your car, you maybe have some perspective. So, Delray Beach, as you know, has a rich cultural heritage, and it can be traced throughout our town by visiting some of our historic landmarks and destinations that help tell our rich and fascinating story. Just a little background before we get started. Florida became the 27th state to join the Union in 1845. However, Native Americans have lived in Delray Beach area for thousands of years. Prior to the Civil War, tribes of Africans, Seminole Native Americans, and Black Seminoles were already living in South Florida along with white European settlers of hunters, trappers, and farmers. Runaway slaves fled to Florida in antebellum times, and freed slaves entered Florida after the Civil War to begin new lives as farmers. In the late 1800s, a group of courageous and adventurous pioneers arrived in Delray Beach, filled with awe for the pristine beauty of an untouched and tropical splendor. Enticed by news of rich soil and abundant water, they transformed raw land and vast expanses of white sand, scrub pine, saw palmettos, cabbage palm, not to mention oppressive heat and mosquitoes, along the banks of the canal into the humble beginnings of a rural farm town. Henry Flagler completed the Florida East Coast Railway in 1896. He sold land to immigrants and families who populated new settlements along his railway and raised crops that his trains transported to market. By 1910, the population in Delray grew to 904, with a high percentage of working farmers and fishermen. At least a dozen small farms were owned by African Americans, and a group of 49 Bahamian families operated a fishing camp on the beach. By the time Delray was incorporated in 1911, the area had become the epicenter of South Florida's agricultural economy. With the coming of the 1920s famous Florida real estate boom, our rustic little pioneer town had transitioned to a pretty resort town and artist colony. It peaked in 1924, and Delray Beach grew to about 3,000 people. The boom is still considered one of the greatest economic and social phenomena in American history. Hundreds of thousands of Americans poured into the Sunshine State and forever changed the global image of Florida. Construction, real estate speculation, and tourism helped develop Delray into what was, at the time, the largest city between West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale. This is an overview. I don't know if you've seen this image before, but it's an overview of what Delray looked like during the pioneer days. You can see Atlantic Avenue on the left and pineapple fields on the right. Research tells us that historic preservation helps bring approximately $6.3 billion a year to the Florida economy. Investing in the protection of historic places and the legacy of cultures that create them really does have a profound effect on a community and is proven to enhance the quality of life. We're blessed to live in Delray Beach. Proudly, as the mayor spoke of today, our community and its leadership has expanded its advocacy and support over the years for education, arts, humanities, heritage, and the cultural organizations such as the Historical Society that provide this important platform, including many of the places we'll explore today. Before, I know someone had asked about whether we're a village or a town or a city. I loved the mayor's answer to that question. I was going to start out today by saying, hello, fellow villagers, because I still consider us a village. But before it was called Village by the Sea, does everyone know it used to be called the Ocean City? And this was a billboard that was created some time ago for Delray Beach. Did you know we have 5 historic districts in Delray? I'm kind of going to go through them and weave in some images of each. So the next time you want to take a historic car ride or you're on your bike, Joel, you can actually take a trip through our 5 historic districts. The first one we're going to go over is Del Ida Park. It was first recorded in 1923 with development motivated by a patriotic spirit and an optimism for Florida's land boom. It features Mediterranean revival homes and the home of Delray's first female mayor, Catherine Strong. Our famous Bankers Row is nearby and features home of the Mediterranean revival, traditional, minimal style, and modern masonry vernacular. Bankers Row was named because of the 4 prominent bankers that lived on the street at the time. The street benefited from a revitalization and preservation efforts in the 80s. Another house on Bankers Row. Our West Settlers District was originally called the Sands, so named for its sandy soil. It was established in 1894 as Delray's first African-American community, self-sufficient with commercial buildings and churches serving its community. African-Americans from northern and western Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina were the first non-native settlers in Delray, and the Delray pioneering a rich agricultural heritage. Be sure and visit Spady Cultural Heritage Museum in the West Settlers District. It's dedicated to discovering, collecting, and sharing the African-American history and heritage of Palm Beach County. African-American educator and community leader in Delray Beach from 1922 to 1957 was named Solomon D. Spady, and that's who the museum is named after. Spady is the only Black History Museum and cultural center of its kind in Palm Beach County. Have you all visited Spady Cultural Heritage Museum? Some of you? 1 or 2 or 3? Oh, you gotta go. It's an amazing history. It's another cottage at Spady. So the next historic district is called Nassau Park Historic District, one of my favorite streets in Delray. If you haven't ridden your bike down it, it's very short but very beautiful, and a lot of historic cottages. It's a special and quaint historic streetscape and Delray's first locally designated historic district. It spans off of A1A. It was primarily built between 1935 and 1941. This residential neighborhood features cottages built in the colonial Cape Cod revival style. You'll notice details and features from early wooden folk houses from eastern Massachusetts. It epitomizes the beachside relaxed winter colony ambiance. Very cute homes. We want to keep these, don't we? And I think we spoke about Old School Square a little bit ago. Old School Square Historic District is also where the Delray Beach Historical Society is located. We're actually right across the street from Old School Square. This district was named for its focal point, Old School Square Complex at the town's geographic center. It was our town's first schoolhouse. My father went to elementary school there. Today, Old School Square is a 4-acre complex with 3 historic buildings, all of which predate the great 1928 hurricane. The Cornell Museum of Art and American Culture is in the former 1913 Delray Elementary building. The Crest Theater is the former 1925 high school building. And the vintage gymnasium dates to around 1925. My father's initials are carved up in the rafters in the gym, still to this day, along with his buddies who are in their 90s. It's kind of fun to go in there. Old School Square hosts thousands of activities each year with a lively and entertaining cultural arts calendar. So this is the Old School Square. This is what it looked like when it was first built as a schoolhouse. Later on with the school children in front. After some early renovations, but then it sort of deteriorated, and the preservation community and the historical society raised money through grants and state money to revitalize Old School Square to its current glory. And of course, this is the whole complex at Christmas time with the Christmas tree. Has everybody been to Old School Square, Crest Theater, museums? So the next district is the Marina Historic District. Have any of you visited that district? Down on the Intercoastal Waterway? It's near the beautiful Intercoastal and features many cottages and homes built between 1922 and 1943. A variety of architectural styles can be seen which showcase some of the most accomplished architects in our area, including, actually in the state, or in the country, including Sam Algren, Gustav Maas, and Addison Meisner. A walk along the waterway between the docked boats and homes is a one-of-a-kind, charming experience in Delray Beach. Some cottages in the marina. So this brings us to the Atlantic Avenue Bridge. Did you all know that it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places? It's pretty incredible. So the next time, Joel, you're riding your bike over, you'll know how historic it is. Back in the pioneer days, well, it was once called the canal, as many of you probably already know, and pioneers used a lighter barge to cross it to journey over to the ocean. A bridge was eventually built, and here are several images of its evolution. That's one of the members of the Sterling family, by the way, one of our earliest pioneers crossing the bridge on the lighter barge. It was the Intercoastal. Early version of our bridge. Here's Atlantic Avenue. That was just before my time, but it used to be wooden. Here it is today. So the waterway was actually an integral part of transporting farm crops and fish during the early days to northern cities before Henry Flagler's introduction of the train in 1886. So just across the bridge on the other side is Veterans Park. Has everybody visited Veterans Park or taken a cruise? It's a beautiful park. It's changed over the years. I remember growing up here, we used to have all our church picnics in that park. But it's just to the left in this photograph, and it's on the scenic waterway. It includes the launch site for waterway cruises. So another great destination if you haven't been there. So we're going to go back inland a little bit along Swinton Avenue. Are you all familiar with Swinton Avenue, south and north? It's a history lesson all by itself. There are many beautiful and historic homes on Swinton. South Swinton is actually included in the Old School Square Historic Arts District, but North Swinton is not. And some of our most beautiful homes and mansions are on North Swinton, so Some of us in the preservation community are working towards maybe getting some of those homes and streets designated. This is called the Clintmore House. Have you seen this house on North Swinton? Yeah. It's the only Georgian mansion in our area. It's beautiful. Another personal note, my mom worked with the woman that lived in that house once, many, many years ago, Mrs. Gringle. She was a realtor in town. And she and her husband opened up the very first real estate company in Delray Beach called Gringle, Doherty and Wheat. My mother worked for her. And when I was 12 years old, I used to ride my bike and clean her silver for 5 cents an hour. So now you know how old I am. So. It's another beautiful home on North Swinton. South Swinton includes the Sunday House. How many here have been to the Sunday House? A lot of you, okay. So that's the Sunday House in the back, on the left. And some of our earliest pioneers are in that buggy. I could name them all, but I would be here for an hour. But there's some really neat people in that buggy that went on to do some amazing things. So this is actually one of my favorite historic images of Delray. But the Sunday House is another sort of history lesson all by itself. It's really a grand symbol of intrinsic beauty and environmental stewardship and historic preservation. The home is rich with stories of a pioneering family where Delray's first mayor lived. Mr. John Shaw Sunday was born in North Carolina and moved to Florida in 1894 with his family. He was the superintendent of construction for what became the Florida East Coast Railway. In 1902, he built the Sunday House, a Victorian Queen Anne-style house using South Carolina and Dade County pine. He surrounded it with pineapple fields and vegetables and started a feed and fertilizer business. In its heyday, the feed store was a hub of social and agricultural activity where farmers and their wives would come to gossip and pick up supplies while children would play among the bales of hay and sacks of grain. The founding of Delray's first bank and Baptist church took place at the Sunday House, as well as the incorporation of Delray Beach in 1911, when John Sunday was elected mayor. John Sunday's wife, Elizabeth, taught the first pioneers' children in the home and taught Latin to the high school children. She chaired the first board of education and co-founded the Ladies Improvement Society, a fundraising organization, which I'll talk about in a minute. The Sunday House is now a historic inn, and it includes a 1-acre botanical garden and their famous cenote pool where you can swim with fish. The main house features an award-winning restaurant, and the cottages in the back of the property are converted horse stables. This is the Sunday House today. If you haven't been, I really encourage you to go. In this photo, on the far left, you'll see a walkway. When you go through that walkway, you'll come upon the most beautiful Royal Poinciana tree. And it's documented that it's the first planted Royal Poinciana tree in Palm Beach County. And its root system is massive. It's so big that you could walk through that walkway and pass it and never know it. They have a special gardener that comes from West Lantana to take care of this tree. The name of the tree is Elizabeth, and the tree is named after the daughter of one of Delray's first priest from the local church. Pete Sunday, the son of John, got 2 seeds from the priest, and he planted 2 seeds on the side of the house. One died, one stayed. And so this is the same tree that Mayor Sunday's son planted, and it's still alive today. So the next time you walk through there, take a look at that beautiful tree. It's amazing. This is one of the cottages at the Sunday House. Here's the cenote pool. Atlantic Avenue, well, here's Atlantic Avenue before the town was laid out. Isn't that an amazing picture? So on the far left in the background, they call that the Ocean Ridge. It's a little place where the land was elevated, and that's actually where the Marriott Hotel is now. And the beach is off in the distance. But while the men were busy opening business and banks, the women of the town formed the Ladies Improvement Association in 1902. Mary Elizabeth Sterling of the pioneering Sterling family was a founder and leader of this group of conscientious pioneering women who took it upon themselves to help create an orderly community in an attractive downtown. Most of these women were used to northern amenities, so they took it upon themselves to assure that Delray was a respectable place to live and a welcoming destination for northern visitors. They were instrumental in building the first library, schools, rock roads, sidewalks, and even the first town hall. Many also led a group of citizens to build the first beach pavilion in Delray, which helped draw visitors, a first step in transitioning the community from strict reliance on its agricultural economy. The headquarters was located in around the 400 block of Atlantic Avenue. So if you know where the restaurant Martier is, it was right around there. Obviously the original building wasn't there, but this was the Ladies Improvement Society / Town Hall. These ladies were fierce. They did a lot of work to make Delray what it is today. Atlantic Avenue has evolved as many small town main streets have over the years. It now boasts world-class restaurants and shops, but many of the historic structures and significant buildings built between 1913 and 1938 are still in place and can be seen strolling the avenue. So we don't have time today to go over each building, but it is a really interesting walk to see what's there now and learn the history of the various buildings. So here's a picture of downtown Delray Beach with the Casa Del Rey, later known as the Bonaire Hotel. It was demolished in 1968, and it's where Worthing Park is now. Here's Atlantic Avenue at a later date. On the far left, you'll see Falcon Drugstore. And Howard Falcon was a prominent member of the community. And did you all ever frequent the restaurant called the Falcon House on Federal Highway at one time? It became another restaurant after that, and now it's called called Death and Glory. It's on Federal and First. Nobody's been there, but anyway, Howard Falcon grew up in that house, and it's truly one of the most historic homes in Delray. Great stories, great layout. Here's Atlantic Avenue, one of my favorite shots of Atlantic. Isn't that pretty with all the palm trees? Later on in time, it's your old Buick? And here we are today. It's one of the old surviving buildings. It's now the Bull Bar. Vic and Angelo is also one of the old historic buildings right on the railroad tracks. So the Colony Hotel is on Atlantic Avenue too. How many have been to the Colony Hotel? Oh, everybody. Good, 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 good. The Colony Hotel is really one of the crown jewels of the avenue and one of the most historic landmarks in Delray Beach. A visit to Delray Beach is not complete without a walk through the lobby or a sit on the porch to watch the world go by. Martin Luther Hampton, an associate of Addison Meisner, designed and built the Colony Hotel in 1926. The interior of the romantic hotel includes the 1926 staff-operated elevator and the original telephone switchboard. The lobby has a complete set of more than 50 pieces of fixed-reed wicker furniture and is lit by the 6 original wood skylights. The lobby terrazzo floors, the red oak in the music and dining rooms, and the Cuban 1926 tile floor on the porch are still intact. The Mediterranean Revival architecture is a model in the Delray Beach Downtown Master Plan for new development. So that's the Colony today. And here's the interior featuring some of the things that we just talked about, some of the interior features. It really has such a great feel, doesn't it, when you walk in that room, sit in the lobby? Does anybody do yoga at the Colony Hotel? They have great yoga classes there. Another interior shot. Are you familiar with the Arcade building in downtown Delray Beach? Did any of you frequent the Arcade Tap Room maybe 40 years ago? 50 years ago, something like that. The Arcade building is another great example of a historic downtown building. It was designed by pioneer architect Samuel Ogren for the Atlantic Avenue Company in 1925. It's a two-story Mediterranean revival building. It was intended for stores and offices, many of them selling real estate. Then the boom went bust, and the Atlantic Avenue Company along with it. The landowner, Adolph Hoffman, foreclosed and then leased a small space in the arcade leading from the sidewalk to the courtyard. A Mr. Kraus opened up a small shop and restaurant, which later expanded. In 1932, Mr. Kraus persuaded Mr. Hoffman to rent him the large courtyard for an open-air restaurant and lounge. The famous Arcade Tap Room was born that year. It was the place to be and be seen. In the 40s and 50s, famous cartoonists rented the tap room's second-floor offices as studios. Pat Enright, the political cartoonist, and Fontaine Fox, creator of the Toonerville Folks comic strip, H.T. Webster and Zach Mosley were also there. They drew upstairs, they drank downstairs, and in time the tap room's walls were adorned with their work. I think the current restaurant is called Martier, and they're trying to bring back that old speakeasy feel. I actually haven't been in there since they've been promoting that, but I can remember going there as a kid and seeing my dad at the bar. It was really the place to go. My parents had New Year's Eve there and birthday parties there because it was really the only one of its kind in Delray. This is a picture of Sam Ogren, who is known as the father of Delray's architecture. Just off the avenue is Pineapple Grove, a collection of shops, restaurants, and art galleries that has become a very popular attraction. Pineapples in Delray go way back, as most of you probably know. Many pioneering farmers raised pineapples, and the fields went right up to the edge of Atlantic Avenue and down 2nd Avenue to 13th Street, much like the picture we saw in the beginning of the presentation. It's Pineapple Grove. Okay, so we're going to go back down to the beach, so turn your bike around. Sam Ogren was known as the father of Delray architecture, as we just talked about. Another great destination on our list is the Sandaway Nature Discovery Center. How many people have been to the Sandaway House? Not enough of you. You need to get on your bike and go to the Sandaway. It's an amazing place. Sandaway House was built for retired produce broker J.B. Evans from Deerfield in 1936. Mr. Evans commissioned Mr. Ogren to design the house as a retirement home. Mr. Evans was appointed as Lieutenant Colonel and personal aide to Florida Governor Fred P. Cone in 1937. The Sandaway House is listed in the Master Site File Inventory of Historic Structures by the Florida Department of State, and is also listed in the City of Delray Beach's local Register of Historic Places, and it is also registered on the National Register of Historic Places. The Sandaway House provides cultural significance as it exemplifies the historic, political, economic, and social trends reflected in Delray Beach during the Great Depression. Designed in a unique style adapted to both the local climate and socioeconomic conditions of the nation, the house provides significant clues about the values, lifestyle, and social consciousness of the upper-class citizens moving to Delray during the 1930s. In 1995, a group called the Friends of the Sandaway House Nature Center was formed with the express purpose of restoring the beachfront property for use as a nature museum highlighting marine and coastal life and natural local vegetation. It opened in May 1998. They offer a wide variety of nature programs and exhibits for school children and adults, and it's a must-see for every Delray visitor. There's the Sandaway from A1A view. It's kind of hard to find because it's set back, but they just changed their logo and sign, so they're trying to attract more people. But it's one of my favorite places, and I always take people from out of town there. They have shark feedings, all kinds of programs, an amazing shell collection, a lot of history, and they just installed a small but really interesting exhibit on our local surfing history. It's part of the museum. So while we're down at the beach, one of the most popular things to do in Delray Beach is to take the 16-stop historic beach walk. How many of you have done that? Not one. Okay, well, I'll be seeing you at the Historical Society next weekend to give you the map. And you can do it by foot or on your bike. It's there's so many memories on the beach. Like when the barefoot mailman walked the beach to deliver mail in a sparsely settled old town and stopped for the night at the House of Refuge, shown here. This House of Refuge was actually the design inspiration for beach pavilions to follow, and it still is the current inspiration for the pavilion that we have today. Even though the House of Refuge is located just north of our current pavilion, it still was the design inspiration for it. This was where shipwrecked sailors sought refuge. And it's the very first structure ever built in Delray Beach. Some other memories on the beach include the fact that when the Bluefish were running, all the shops in Delray would close, and they would put signs on the door that said the Blues are running. The post office closed. All the shops closed. The grocery stores closed in the 40s and 50s. Even some of the 60s when the Bluefish were running, everybody went down and fished. There was a night in the 1930s when a smuggler's cachet of rum washed up on the beach just before the end of Prohibition. Another memory is when Herb Roth and other famous cartoonists who wintered in Delray Beach were seen sketching beach scenes. Some of the highlights on the 16-point historic tour include the SS Encholva shipwreck marker. In 1908, we had a British ship that wrecked off the coast of Delray. Most of the sailors died, but 9 survived. And they crawled up during the big hurricane and sought refuge at the Chapman Hotel, which was Delray's first hotel. So there's a marker down there. And Anchor Park, that's named for the ship's anchor at that park. Boston's restaurant is located in the old Casa Las Olas Hotel. The Delray Beach Pavilion, which is shown here in this photograph at the east end of Atlantic. It's been here since the beginning of the 20th century. And the present pavilion, like we said, is an architectural homage to the pavilion, first pavilion built in 1929. The Visitors Information Center and the Sarah Gleason Park are on the beach tour. It was the site of the old city casino and saltwater pool built by the Works Progress Administration during the 1930s. The bicentennial marker is there on the east sidewalk of North Ocean Boulevard. The Marriott Hotel is on the corner, and it was built on the site of the popular 1923 Seacrest Hotel, also in the Spanish style. The Seacrest Bell Tower, in approximately the same place as the Marriott's Bell Tower up on the top, was manned during World War II by citizen volunteers who listed all airplanes and ships sighted. My father has memories of doing that when he was little. And of course, the Orange Grove House of Refuge marker on the east side of the sidewalk. The Grosvenor House condominium is on the former site of the Orange Grove House of Refuge. And the area between South Ocean Boulevard and Andrews Avenue near the beach road was the site of the settlement graveyard called the Bay Ridge Cemetery. Did you know that? Here's the pavilion evolution. So that kind of looks like today's a little bit, doesn't it? Some historic beach photos of Delray. This is from our fishing history exhibit that we have up now. And there's beautiful Delray Beach. That's why we all moved here, right? Another wonderful experience on our tour is a visit to Murakami, almost right across the street. So I'm sure many of you have been there, correct? Yeah. Since opening in 1997, Murakami has been a center for Japanese arts and culture in South Florida. with rotating exhibitions, tea ceremonies performed monthly in the tea house, educational outreach programs with local schools and organizations, and Japanese traditional festivals celebrated for the public several times a year. Murakami strives to spread appreciation for the living culture of Japan. Mr. Murakami donated more than 200 acres of land to start construction of this renewed Japanese gardens in West Delray on the border of Boca Raton. Visitors are surprised to discover a century-old connection between Japan and South Florida. It is here that a group of young Japanese farmers created a community intended to revolutionize agriculture in Florida. In 1904, Joe Sakai, a recent graduate of New York University, returned to his homeland in Maizu, Japan, to organize a group of pioneering pineapple farmers and led them to West Delray, Boca area. They also grew peppers and tomatoes, but pineapples were the main crop. With the help of the Model Land Company, a subsidiary of Henry Flagler's East Coast Railroad, they formed a farming colony they named Yamato, an ancient name for Japan. Ultimately, the results of their crop experimentation were disappointing, and the Yamato colony fell short of its goals. By the 1920s, the community finally surrendered its dream. One by one, the families left for other parts of the United States or returned to Japan. Murakami today, though, is a place to escape to another land and enjoy peace, quiet, and nature. There's some of the Yamato farmers. We don't have that many pictures in our archives, but we do have some. There's Mr. Murakami on the left. And the gardens. So it's a beautiful escape if you haven't been there. Running right through town, the sound of the train is part of the fabric of our everyday life in Delray Beach. The first train whistled and chugged its way through Delray in April 1896, when Henry Flagler's Florida East Coast Railway was extended north to Miami. The station, with its freight office and packing shed, was essential to Delray's agricultural economy. After passenger service was terminated in the 1960s, the passenger half of the station was moved to another location. The freight half of the station was moved west of Delray to be used as an office at a plant nursery. When the land it sat on was sold for residential development, the Delray Beach Historical Society moved the surviving section back to town in 1996. It remains today beside the FEC track, restored and painted to its original bright yellow color. The station is the same building, has the same building plan that Henry Flagler used for most of the stations along his Florida East Coast Railway. All the stations were painted bright yellow with brown and white trim. Flagler's friend, George Eastman, chose the same color for his Kodak company, which is why Delray Station's paint color was matched to a Kodak film box when it was restored. This is Seabreeze Avenue, right along the beach. It's a great little short bike ride, drive. One of the first pioneers in Delray named Adolf Hoffman planted those palm trees. Early 1900s. Last but not least, I hope you will visit the Delray Beach Historical Society, located in the Old School Square Historic Arts District. The DBHS was founded in 1964 by Ethel Sterling Williams and a group of caring individuals who wanted to save the history of our town. We have 3 historic cottages housing the city's archives, a research learning center, a history house museum called Quezon Cottage, and exhibit space. We're currently featuring a comprehensive fishing history exhibit, which is a special and endearing look at a unifying part of our cultural heritage dating back to the first inhabitants. We have year-round programs, history exhibits, and events that preserve, share, and celebrate Delray's history and cultural heritage. So this presentation was just to wet your whistle, and I hope you'll take time to walk and drive and ride your bike all around Delray with a renewed sense of history and heritage. And it's been my absolute pleasure and joy to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm sure Winnie will stick around for a few minutes in case you have any questions. She'll be over here. Well, we'll see you all at our delegates and alternates and all, where you'll be getting the invitation for the breakfast, and we'll see you in June.